The Spin-off Podcast Network.
This is Kiwi is back for a brand new season with more inspiring kōrero from special guests including rugby player, father and role model TJ Perenara.
My family bring me joy. Rugby brings me joy too, but it's not the same joy as my family brings me.
And global dancer and choreographer Kirsten Dodgen.
For some reason, people think I'm very intimidating.
Listen to the new season of This is Kiwi, brought to you by the Spin-off Podcast Network in collaboration with KiwiBank. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Kia ora, this is Toby Manhire, here to urge you to tune in to Gone by Lunchtime, a podcast with me, Annabelle Lee Mather and Ben Thomas, tackling the world of New Zealand politics, from policy to polling, from scandal to psychodrama. Listen to Gone by Lunchtime, brought to you by the Spin-off Podcast Network, wherever good pods are sold.
I mean, again, you don't want to put blame on the older generation, but as Dr. Louise Reich said, drive around the country and look how many cosmetic and Botox clinics there are everywhere now.
Talofa lava, I'm Madeleine Chapman, editor of The Spin-off. Welcome to Behind the Story, where I go behind the scenes of a big article on the spin-off from the week. If you want a weekly rundown of some of the best reads from the spin-off every Saturday, make sure you sign up to the weekend newsletter. Today I'm talking to spin-off senior writer Alex Casey. Alex has this week written an incredible long-form feature about the rising trend of young children coveting skincare. Note, this is not about makeup or wearing your mum's lipstick. It's about 10-year-olds using serums and anti-wrinkle creams. Alex has been thinking and writing about the beauty industry for years, and this is likely just the first in a series of big features about a billion-dollar industry with controversial aims. Here's Alex Casey on Behind the Story. Kia ora, Alex.
Kia ora, Mad. Great to be here.
So, your incredible long-form feature, which was a cover story this week, with a great headline, "It's Insidious and Dangerous, the kids fighting wrinkles before their 10th birthday." That is quite a terrifying little statement there. This is also not a new story idea for you. I feel like I've heard you talk about this many times. Can you talk about the original idea that you wanted to write about, or how you wanted to approach kind of the skincare and cosmetics industry?
Yeah, you're right. It's something I've harped on about for a long time because I'm also a player in this industry, and so much as I have propped it up single-handedly for many years. But no, I've pitched various, I would say quite big projects kind of about our relationship with beauty and the beauty industry, particularly in Aotearoa with young people. And I've always wanted to do something quite big and quite serious because, yeah, I feel like it's a subject that just does not get any sort of in-depth coverage, you know. I think kind of investigative journalism is normally applied to certain topics, and a lot of people think beauty is frivolous. I think a lot of that's because it's like a woman's issue and it gets filed away with like lifestyle and, you know, whatever Shane and Nerida Cortez are up to in the Women's Day. And so what's left is like the publications that do cover beauty are kind of a part of the beauty industry. They have commercial ties to a lot of the brands, and therefore it becomes really difficult to have any space to talk about this critically at all. But I think I was slightly too ambitious, perhaps, in some of those projects, particularly going to the likes of New Zealand On Air and saying, give me all this money to write about skincare. You know, you can see how that's quite a hard sell. So after a few polite declines, I sort of decided to kind of start small and just start with a simple story.
And you decided to focus on children, which I think is a relatively new introduction to the wider skincare, cosmetics, beauty industry. You had to interview a number of quite young children for this feature. It's a very serious topic, but also you're interviewing kids, and kids are crack up. What do you have to change when you're interviewing children in order to try and, one, kind of get the quotes and the context that you need, but also not wanting to kind of like basically have them speak like adults in order to do that.
Totally. Yeah, it was a challenge. I mean, I did start off for a long time just having lots of background conversations. Obviously, you're dealing with kids, so there's sensitivities. Nobody was on the record. I never expected anyone to be like, give their full name and details. But at the start, it was very much just kind of confirming my hunch about this and making sure that this was actually something going on with a lot of kids and particularly their parents. But yeah, I found it was almost like interviewing a very reluctant actor for my life in TV. Like super open questions, no pressure. I also realized pretty quickly that I almost had to be quite careful. I had sort of expected I would be able to ask kids maybe about their own appearance and things that they would change. And I realized really quickly that I didn't actually want to pry that open necessarily in some of these kids who are engaging with skincare and the beauty industry, but aren't actually kind of thinking at that deeper level yet or wanting to talk about that. So I realized fast that it was a little bit of a balance between, you know, tell me what you like about beauty influencers or what you like about watching skincare videos without necessarily kind of internalizing it or getting them to talk about themselves. Yeah, so that was a little bit of a dance, but I realized pretty quickly that if I just ask these young girls, you know, what are you into? What do you like watching on YouTube? All of this stuff just came out, you know, it wasn't that difficult. And I also got a great education in Roblox and like all this crazy TikTok stuff. Preppy is apparently back, but it doesn't mean what you think it means. There's just all this other stuff going on. So my interviews, I would say, are wide-ranging, the original recordings.
I mean, that was kind of a particularly, like, shocking part or detail in the story for me was, you know, you assume that kids can see all the ads and things for Mecca and you see all the colourful packaging of Drunk Elephant and go, oh yeah, that looks very kid-friendly and very deliberate. But I did not realise that, you know, the kids game Roblox has basically this kind of pseudo product placement inside it.
Yeah, and that took a while for me to figure out because I was like, hold on, we need to go back. What is Roblox? And my understanding of it is it's sort of like a bit of a shared world where there are creators within it who make their own games. So this product placement isn't necessarily coming from the brands, it's coming from creators who would just naturally populate their bathrooms and things with these distinctive looking products. So it doesn't necessarily have like the big bad brands pulling the strings, but it is interesting that that's just kind of a given now that that's what would be in these games for kids, and also that that's something that kids instantly recognize and can like rattle off the names of these crazy products with the most like scientific terms you've ever heard of when they're like, you know, 9 and 10. So yeah, it was interesting to me to find the ways it had seeped into, I guess, the more surprising corners of these kids' worlds, and that it often comes from even the kids that aren't allowed TikTok. You know, there's YouTube Shorts and how everything is kind of cannibalizing all the beauty influencer content is just everywhere and very hard for parents to place, basically.
I think there's also a very important distinction between makeup and skincare in that a natural response is, oh, kids always want to wear their parents' makeup or they want to dress up and kind of look adult, but this is more like of a deeper, you know, you don't see skincare, so this is something that is like wanting the effects of the skincare rather than the look of fun makeup. And was that something that when did you yourself start to get or think about skincare in a serious way in terms of like generational differences?
Yeah. I realized really quickly I wanted the story to be about skincare in particular for all those reasons you mentioned. As the headline says, there is like an insidiousness to just the skin deep nature of it, almost like a body horror level. Yeah, it's interesting looking at how fast things have changed. I grew up with like Girlfriend and Dolly magazine, where the focus was very much on like pimples, and that being this huge teenage anxiety, and something that I wrestled with and continue to wrestle with in my early 30s. But it was very teenage and very clear that was like what we were dealing with. And this is just a whole different level. And, the people I interviewed, Angela Barnett, the kind of body image activist, and the dermatologist, Louise Reich, and the psychologist, they all confirmed that this was basically something they've noticed kind of acutely just in the last few years. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. I mean, again, you don't want to put blame on the older generation, but as I think Dr. Louise Reich said, drive around the country and look how many cosmetic and Botox clinics there are everywhere now. But also look at how often we have to look at our own faces and deal with our reflections compared to even, not 5-10 years ago. But yeah, it was also very important to me to not focus on makeup, because I do think makeup is kind of different. And it was the psychologist said it's really useful to look at what's motivating the choice to buy or consume or use something, and that makeup is often about self-expression and artistry and being creative or building confidence. There's probably things we could untangle within that, but that's really different to layering on, 10 different serums because you're worried about getting wrinkles when you're, an intermediate kid. So yeah, that's really, really changed. I feel like I didn't start thinking about wrinkles until I was 25 or something. Probably too late. Nah, that's toxic. That's toxic. It's fine.
I mean, I read it and was just terrified, and also my eyes kind of glazed over at all of the long names for things which mean absolutely nothing to me, as somebody who has never and likely will never have the energy to do a single skincare thing, which we'll see how that pans out for me. But did this change your outlook or your relationship with skincare at all? Obviously, you are not a child at the moment, but did it kind of have you rethinking anything about you as a 30-something-year-old woman?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had already been on a bit of a journey, as they say. I would consider myself a reformed, like, Mecca junkie. I used to be a level 3 Beauty Loop member, which it means you spend a disgusting amount of money a year.
Can you say what that amount is, or do you know what that amount is?
I think it is. It's maybe $3,000. But interestingly, for me, gaining my level 3 Beauty Loop membership also coincided with the highest level of mental distress I have ever been in my entire life. And so, kind of reflecting personally, I started to look at the way that I perhaps use skincare and these rituals and routines as a weird outlet for some other stuff. And I've been really influenced by the work of Jess DeFino. Have you read her Substack?
No.
She is a great American journalist who has a Substack called The Review of Beauty. It used to be called The Unpublishable. She basically worked for like many years for Elle magazine as a beauty editor, and then had a sort of crazy come to Jesus thing herself and started denouncing all of it and trying to write all this critical stuff, and she couldn't get it published anywhere because all the publications that were interested in beauty had beauty commercial partners. So she started the Substack, and honestly, she's just like amazing. So I've been quite influenced by her way of thinking, I would say, for the last few years, and truly have become like, I just use honey for like everything.
Winnie the Pooh.
I know. I'm thinking of Winnie the Pooh. So, I'd be lying if I said that there wasn't like an underlying kind of personal political motivation to me doing this sort of story. And I thought, when you're dealing with something like kids and skincare, it becomes pretty cut and dry. People can pretty much universally agree, that's concerning. Where it starts to get murkier is as people get older and when we're in a world that is ageist and it does benefit you to look young, in that structure, where does that leave, being critical of things like Botox and stuff. So I'm very interested in all of that, and I would like to keep writing about it and trying to figure it out for myself.
Well, on that note, I will say thank you, Alex Casey, for being on Behind the Story, and I will let you go and lather your face in honey.
Thank you very much. You've got to get the ants off first.
That was Alex Casey on Behind the Story. I'll be back next week with another spin-off writer and another spin-off yarn. Thanks for listening.
Kia ora, I'm Duncan Grieve, founder of The Spin-Off. You can help us keep all of The Spin-Off's award-winning journalism free for everybody by becoming a member today at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
Kia ora, I'm Alex Casey, senior writer at The Spin-Off. We wouldn't exist without the ongoing support of our generous members. If you're able to, you can make a donation at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
The Spin-off Podcast Network.